Hello, everyone. I hope all of you are having a good day so far. Um, so for today, we have a little video lesson for you to watch. If you can please have your notes out on your iPad as you watch this video, either split screened or if you're watching this video on a desktop or laptop, have the notes out on your iPad. Okay. One important announcement, or actually two announcements. Sorry. One, your Chapter 10, Section 1 key terms are due by 3 p.m. today, and your homework for tonight is not due until Thursday. It is the Chapter 10, Section 1 worksheet. Okay, that is due Thursday. Okay, so please make sure you get both those assignments in, as they both are kind of big part of your trimester 3 grade. All right. One reminder as we were watching this video. Feel free to pause it and copy notes if you miss anything as I kind of go through each of the slides we're going to cover for today. The plan is to cover 4 slides today. All right, so kind of get yourself in the right place and listen carefully to what we're going to go over. All right, you should have read the section as you completed the key terms last night or earlier today. And now I apologize that the background's a little different. It's just the Explain Everything app that I use changed the background, and I'm not exactly sure how to make it the background that you have. All right, but it is the same set of notes. All right, so today we are picking up with Germanic tribe culture, talking about village life, and the Germanic people, okay, before they started taking control of land within the Roman Empire and capturing Roman cities, all right, they lived pretty much in very rural areas, or areas that were surrounded by farmlands and pastures. Okay, and they lived in huts. They didn't really have homes similar to that of the Romans. Right, their huts were divided too. It was not just for the family. As many of the huts were also for the animals. Right, so they divided the family, half of the hut for the family, half the hut for the animals. They had literally animal stalls. Okay, which is one reason why Romans referred to these Germanic people as barbarians, because they had animals living with them, and it wasn't just like dogs and cats and other pets. It was cows, sheep, pigs. Okay, they were in a separate portion of their hut. Right, and they relied on these animals, one, for food, but also because the body heat of the animals kept the hut warm. All right, many of these people also farmed and herded cattle for food, and the word that is kind of covered here, all right, that is actually clothing. Put that in. That word is clothing. That's kind of covered by that picture there. Right, and these Germanic people, for hundreds of years had traded with the Romans for a lot of valuable materials. They traded their cattle to Romans for glass vessels, table articles, jewelry, and other items made by the Romans. The style of dress within these villages was very simple. Okay, women wore a long skirt, one-piece dress, almost looking like a jumper. Right? Maybe some of you girls wore a jumper if you came from previous different Catholic schools. All right, men wore a woolen tunic, much like the tunic you see here pictured in the top right-hand corner. All right, a tunic is kind of like a coat-like garment, and then the men would wear trousers. All right, basically pants, like corduroy, or a wool type of pants, which was maybe not the most comfortable pants, or it was not like sweatpants. All right, but they did have trousers, and they were, little close fitting. Okay, so that is, the dress style and the housing structure that many of these Germanic people experienced on a regular basis. Okay, make sure you get all of this down. If you're missing anything, again, you can just go back and watch the video, or you can pause it at any time. moving on to the next slide. All right, continuing with the life. All right, within these Germanic villages, one very common practice was hospitality. Okay, and hospitality is something that, due to social distancing, maybe we can't show as much. All right, hospitality is when you invite someone into your home and you show that person comfort by offering them food, something to drink. You invite them to sit on the couch, sit at the dining room table, sit at the counter. For example, every time I go to my in-laws, my father-in-law and mother-in-law always ask me for coffee. They ask me if I would like coffee. That's an example of hospitality. All right. If Mr. Brandon was to ever invite me back to his house when this quarantine is over, it would be nice if he showed me hospitality and offered me coffee instead of, just when I show up at his door, he just kind of waves and tells me to leave, right? Or makes me eat outside with my wife and kids because we make a mess in his house. All right, that's not really nice hospitality. You invite someone in, all right, and make them feel at home. All right, and hospitality was such a big part of these Germanic people that in some villages it was literally against the law to turn anyone away at the door, anyone, which is scary to imagine, all right, because I'm sure there were some people that would take advantage of this practice and maybe steal something from another person who showed them hospitality. Okay, but these Germanic people, they didn't come across strangers a lot. Okay, but they were taught to practice hospitality. All right, and with hospitality, guests and strangers would be fed and entertained. Okay, and some of the sports that the men enjoyed within these villages were wrestling and boxing, and games. All right, they were very big on gambling, which is not something you should ever get into. All right, but that was a common game that a lot of the men within these Germanic people would partake in. Okay, at first, these Germanic people did not have a language. They didn't have an alphabet. All right, there's a lot of different Germanic languages that come about as a result of Latin, such as French, Portuguese, Spanish. English is a Germanic language. German is a Germanic language. Those are some examples. Romanian, was a Germanic language. Okay, but Latin helped influence the development in the written language that these people spoke. All right, so they couldn't read or write at first. They didn't have an alphabet, and eventually, much of their language becomes modern German. All right, the German that you would hear if you were to look YouTube. What the German language sounds like. And the reason why they were able to create an alphabet for their language and create words and sentences and verbs and nouns and pronouns is they used Roman letters, okay, for translation, and they used Latin letters to write their own language. And some of these Germanic people even spoke Latin, because they were in constant contact with Romans when they were trading, their animals for other valuable goods, or maybe if they were hired by the Roman government, to fight in war. They had to learn the language Latin. Okay. And also the Catholic Church the language was Latin. If you wanted to basically become Catholic at that time, you had to learn Latin. All right, so I'll give you a second to copy anything down. Big thing is here, know that the Germanic people practice hospitality within their villages. Know what hospitality is. And also know that their language did not have an alphabet. Okay, and know that a lot of their languages that they spoke becomes modern-day German. And the next thing we're going to talk about today is the Germanic warriors. Okay, these Germanic tribes, the men specifically within each Germanic tribe or clan, were warriors. They're expected to fight and protect their clan, because each tribe was divided into clans, and clans are basically groups based on family ties, and that's a term, that you should have defined last night and completed, for homework today. Okay, and within each clan, all men are warriors, And a lot of these men would spend their time fighting or learning how to fight, shoot a bow and arrow, use a sword. They would learn how to hunt, and they would had to learn how to make their own weapons, right? Because there was no guarantee that they would get weapons from the Romans, so they were taught to make their own weapons. And within a Germanic village and within a clan, all right, a boy would not be considered an adult or someone or reaches manhood until he received a shield and a spear. So when a boy received a shield and a spear, okay, that was a sign of him being a man and no longer a boy within the village. Much like how there's things in our society, if you can think of, where you no longer are a boy or a girl and you are an adult. For example, when you turn 18, you have the right to vote. You have the right to serve in the military. You can drive a car. You can get a license. Some people maybe don't think they're a man until they get married, all right? Or they go to college, or they graduate college, or they graduate high school. All right, those are some signs in our society where someone is no longer a boy or girl; they are now an adult. Okay, but one thing that we don't do in our society that they actually did in these Germanic villages is a boy. All right, when he wanted to reach manhood, all right, all of his toys that he played with, he would basically, there was this big ceremony in which boys would take their toys and burn them, all right, and then accept their shields and spear and their place within their clan. Okay, now I don't suggest doing this, all right, when you turn 17 or 18 or whenever you feel as if you're an adult, all right, don't go burning your Xboxes or PlayStations or any other toys you played with, all right, because I'm sure those are important to you, but within a Germanic tribe, all right, they actually, the boys would do that, all right, to show that they're moving on from their childhood, all right. Within these clans, people developed a strong loyalty to a leader, and the leader of each clan was a military leader called a chieftain. In order to be a chieftain, you had to be a good fighter, one of the best fighters within the clan. And at first, chieftains were elected by the warriors of a clan. Eventually, the position of chieftain became hereditary, which means it would be passed down from father to son to grandson to great-grandson. It would stay within the family. And the chieftain was responsible for providing their men leadership and direction and also weapons, making sure that the warriors had a steady supply of weapons and food, right? And also, the chieftain was also responsible for the safety of all the people within the clan, right? Much like how, a leader of a household or a leader of a family would be responsible for those things today, all right? But no, a chieftain was basically the leader of a Germanic clan. That's what they called them. Eventually, chieftains will take the title king. All right, some of them carried the title king. All right, but before king was used, they were referred to as chieftains. Alaric, who we talked about last chapter, he's an example of a chieftain. All right, who took control of Rome. All right, so I'll give you a couple seconds to copy this down. Make sure you get this down, and we're going to finish up talking about the Germanic warriors on the next slide. So these Germanic warriors, whenever they went into battle, they never had any fixed plans. They did not fight in a phalanx formation. They did not fight in legions. One tactic they used was surprise attacks. They would attack late at night or early in the morning. They did fight on foot and horseback. Not everyone fought on horseback. Some fought on foot, some fought on horseback. But they never really had any set battle plans, all right? They didn't meet the leaders of a clan's military did not meet and discuss how they wanted to attack. The Romans, they kind of would say, let's try and get them at 2 a.m., let's raid the city and kill everyone in it, and civilians kind of just leave them, right, and take whatever they needed. All right, and they had a passion for battle. They had a passion for fighting, and a lot of historians think that their love for battle was linked to their religion. All right, they were polytheistic people. All right, they believed in many gods. These gods are known as the Norse gods, and I'm sure you've heard of them before, especially for those of you that are into Marvel superheroes. All right, their chief god was a man named Woden, or Odin. Okay, he was also a Norse god. He was the god of war, poetry, learning, and magic. Okay, and their chief god was the god of war, which is why historians think they had a love for battle, because their chief god was the god of war. And then Odin had a son, Thor, who was the god of thunder, and you probably know who Thor is if you know your Marvel superheroes. All right, Thor and Odin and Loki were all Norse gods. All right, that the German people believed were gods that kind of defeated evil creatures throughout the world and protected them. Okay, and the soldiers really admired these gods for their bravery, and the soldiers would hope that they could bring fortune to their families, to their clan, by basically fighting in battle like Thor or Odin. Okay, and you can see a picture of Thor with his hammer, and they did believe Thor carried a hammer that was magical and powerful that could defeat basically anybody. All right. So you are going to need to know who Odin is, or Woden, Thor, know what god he was. Those are two Norse gods or Germanic man gods that you need to know, all right, for this chapter. And then know that they use surprise attacks, okay, but they really did not have fixed battle plans, and they were a polytheistic group of people. This is the last slide for today. All right, so we're going to finish here. If you have any questions, you can certainly ask me in the conference on Thursday about anything from these 4 slides. Make sure you complete the Chapter 10 Section 1 worksheet. It's due Thursday, and we'll finish Section 1 on Thursday in the conference, and then Friday we'll start Section 2. All right, I hope all of you have a good day and enjoyed the video. Thank you for your attention, and I hope all of you stay well and stay safe. Take care.